Have you ever heard of a country that doesn't officially exist, yet has its own government, its own money, its own army, and even its own flag? Now imagine growing up in that country, paying taxes, speaking the national language, going to school, all while the rest of the world insists your country isn't real. This is the bizarre reality for hundreds of thousands of people living in unrecognized states, places that operate like full countries but don't appear on most official maps. They're often called ghost nations, and they exist in a kind of geopolitical twilight zone. One of the strangest examples is Transnistria, a narrow strip of land wedged between Moldova and Ukraine. Technically, it's part of Moldova. But try telling that to someone living there. Transnistria has its own border control, its own police, and even its own Soviet-style currency. Most people there speak Russian, carry Transnistrian passports, and live under a government that's completely separate from Moldova's. And yet, no member of the United Nations officially recognizes it. The story of Transnistria is just the beginning. Across the world, similar phantom nations exist in legal limbo, from Abkhazia and South Ossetia in the Caucasus to Somaliland in East Africa. These regions often emerge from conflict, ethnic division, or forgotten colonial borders. Their people live with a strange dual identity, real in everyday life, but invisible in the eyes of global politics. These invisible nations reveal a deeper truth, that the idea of a country is more fragile than we think. We often imagine borders as clear-cut lines decided long ago. But in reality, many of the lines on our maps are shifting, contested, and built on historical accidents. In places like Sealand, it gets even weirder. Sealand is a self-proclaimed micronation off the coast of the UK, built on an abandoned sea fort from World War II. With a total area the size of a football field and fewer than 10 residents, it claims to be an independent country, and even issues passports. It's become a symbol of the blurry line between performance, politics, and sovereignty. And then there's Bir Tawil, a stretch of desert between Egypt and Sudan that no country wants to claim. It's one of the only habitable pieces of land on Earth that isn't officially owned by any nation. Over the years, adventurers have traveled there to plant their own flags and declare themselves king of this lawless land. So what makes a country, a country? Is it a flag? A population? A functioning government? Or is it recognition by others? That last part, recognition, is the key. You could have every feature of a modern nation, but if no one else acknowledges you, you're effectively invisible on the world stage. And yet, people in these ghost nations wake up every day, go to work, raise families, and build lives. They have culture, history, pride, and in some cases, even national sports teams and beauty pageants. But there's also a dark side. Because they're not recognized, these places often fall outside international laws. That can mean economic hardship, political corruption, and isolation from global trade or diplomacy. In some cases, people can't travel freely, access international banking, or receive global aid during crises. At the same time, some unrecognized states function better than recognized ones. Somaliland, for example, is more stable and democratic than many of its neighbors, despite having no seat at the UN. As the world becomes more interconnected, these forgotten countries challenge how we think about nationhood. They raise uncomfortable questions about legitimacy, power, and who gets to decide what counts as real. And maybe, just maybe, they hint at a future where the map isn't as fixed as we thought. Where new nations might emerge not from violence or conquest, but from ideas, identity, and negotiation. Because in the end, maps aren't just records of geography. They're reflections of human imagination, power struggles, and stories waiting to be told. If you liked this journey into the shadows of global geography, stick around. At Quicklet, we explore the strangest corners of the world, the mysteries hiding in plain sight. Subscribe for more videos that make you see the world just a little differently.